everybody, and welcome to SA Rugby TV. I'm Kevin Ferguson, got Mark Johain and Zalem Nell. We're going to discuss the URC and the upcoming Six Nations. I think we got most of my bets right last week. Unfortunately, England, Ireland, another red card. It's so frustrating when you get a card 1 or 2 minutes into the game, and it just changes the complexion of your bet, of everything. And even saying that, I'd picked that England wouldn't lose by 8.5, and they were in it right until the last 6 minutes of the game. So very unlucky. I think we can safely say that if it had been 15 on 15, the bet would have been home and host. It would have been an easy bet to win. But unfortunately, sports doesn't work that way, and red card cost me my money in that match.
How did you go in the URC though? 100% correct strike rate.
Yeah, Bulls covered. I said they'd win by more than 5. I said that they would win by more than 4.5, so they won. And the other ones, I took a bet at half, just 1 minute after kickoff on the Stormers game, and said that they would win by 40 points or more, which I got at 2.6, nice. which came in. Lions one came in. So yeah, we did predict four South African victories in the URC, Mark, and I think we're 4 for 4. And now we've got 2 South African teams in the top 8.
Yeah, we should get 3 teams in the top 8. And I think we should just have Ireland and South Africa play in this tournament. Kick Wales out. I don't know what value they bring. They bring us a few home games, and the poor Italians. I mean, we like to have the Italians here.
Nice blokes.
I mean, imagine just being an Italian rugby player and you play for Zebre and the national team. You just don't win ever. Like, they've lost 10 in the URC, and obviously the national team lost their 36th successive game when they lost to Scotland.
You'd be excused for looking in the mirror and thinking you've got red hair, you know?
Exactly. It's, I mean, when I looked at, we call 4 from 4. What did surprise me a little bit, and it's a credit, I think, to the condition of the Northern Hemisphere teams. Yes. I thought that the Bulls were huffing and puffing at the end, and I thought the Lions were huffing and puffing. Even though the Lions came across 37-20 winners, it's a very understrength Cardiff side, and they're going to be weaker this weekend against the Stormers. They've lost 5 players who have gone home, and they haven't replaced them. I really did expect, and I spoke to Jake about it earlier this week, at 29-3. Thought the game management was very poor from the Bulls. He also said, it's a young squad. They scored 36-10. They blow them away. He said they don't. They get the Diolandi try was, he followed up well and he bounced on it. And then the panic set in a bit. And then Bismarck du Plessis, just a moment of absolute stupidity.
Well, how many times has that been said?
To have a senior player, 38 years old, to come on with the last 10 minutes, you expect him to close the game out. He could have been carded for taking and he nearly swung that scrum off back to O.R. Tambo. Then he grabbed the hooker at the neck, gave away a free kick, and then he just dropped the bloke from the Tower of London as if...
Well, he lifted him up and then dropped him.
Yeah, plenty of time to think about it.
He could have put him down nicely and then slapped him or something, but the way he just dropped him was, to me, an absolute disregard for the moment and a disregard for his teammates.
And for the jersey as well, yeah.
So important win. They got the win, 29-24, but it was one where you felt at one stage that bonus point was going to be comfortable. And I was just glad that the Lions got over the chalk, because if they weren't going to beat this Cardiff team, they were going to be in serious trouble at altitude. And then that first 30 minutes in Durban, I was very surprised at how well the Scarlets played.
Yeah.
And Siya Kolisi made one very important tackle and one incredible counter-ruck turnover, because had they got some momentum and been 15, 20 points up, it could have been very different. Yeah. But that humidity was a shocker as well in Durban. And then Zebre, they're poor at the best of times, minus some of the internationals, they're even worse. 55-7. I mean, the Stormers 21-0 after 8 minutes.
Well, I was thinking that was going to end up in triple digits.
Yeah.
And that kind of talks to what you were saying in the beginning there about how the way the conditioning kind of kicked in for these overseas teams. Because there were moments early on in some of those games where you thought it was going to be a complete blowout.
You're right.
And then they made some adjustments and their conditioning kicked in.
Yeah. No, you can definitely see. You can see it in all games actually. The conditioning of the URC, which to me is the new Super Rugby, because I haven't even watched a game of what they call Super Rugby.
I don't even think they're playing, man. It's all COVID games scrapped. I don't
Yeah.
know. Sure. Are they playing?
They are playing. The Chiefs are playing the Mono Pacifica, and it's now going to be televised in the United Kingdom and Europe
Big money.
for the next 4
Here we
years.
go.
Do you get 4 wins this weekend for South African teams, or 3 or 2, Zels?
I'm going to say 3, Mark. I see, I mean, maybe we need to save this towards the end of the chat, but I see the Lions, the bookies have got the Lions as the favourites to beat Munster. I think that's
Tough one to call that.
that's a big stretch. I mean, the Lions have been absolutely terrible in the Curry Cup. I mean, I know it's a different group of players, but they just got destroyed.
How's the Munster team look, Mark, after this week? Have they sent any players home?
No, they've no real injuries. And look, I was quite surprised that our Munster came back, and then I was very hard on the Bulls on social media, and I said 29-3, you should have put them away. For goodness sakes, this is a Munster side missing 9 internationals who were playing at Twickenham that day. Some Muppet responded to me, but the Bulls are also missing all the internationals. Andre Pollard, every bloke who's left the Bulls. And I was like, the point is, mate, they can't play for the Bulls next week. These guys can still play for Munster in the tournament, and if we had to go there to Thormund Park, we'll take a beating. But then this Muppet also reminded me that the current Munster side that's in South Africa has more current Springboks than the Bulls side. Damien Dearlandian, I couldn't argue with that.
So not really a Muppet.
Not a Muppet. I look like the Muppet at the end there, but yeah, I think they're a well-coached side, Munster.
Look, they've got an incredible academy, lots of depth,
and they would have taken some heart in terms of the way they finished that game. And the altitude.
That Dukes was skittling those Bulls defenders. I mean, if they start with that guy against the Lions, I mean, who's going to stop him?
He came on in 5 minutes. He just showed why he's the number 112 in amongst South African players for the Springboks. And if he can't play, then you pick Frans Steyn. Jesus, I watched him just roll over nearly every province player. We had a scrum off, a flank, a lock. He just pounded through them last night.
Yeah.
And I saw a quote that he made to the media, to say, when they asked how many years has he got left, he said, well, I'm still angry. I get angry when I'm on the field, and as long as I'm angry, I'm happy, and I'll still play. He says, the day I'm not angry is the day I've accepted mediocrity, but I'm still angry, and I'm okay.
Let's hope he stays angry.
Yeah, exactly, for just another 18 months, and wins us another 3rd World Cup. But yeah, it's Dearlandy was so good when he came on in the last 20-minute cameo, and really kind of
Were you surprised he didn't start?
Well, he's come back from injury, so they were introducing him back into the mix. I just like the way. I mean, you know, the Munster and Leinster are the equivalent of
the Bulls and the Sharks.
The Bulls and Sharks for us here, and then if you look in New Zealand, the Crusaders and a very good Chiefs side. So they're the top 2 teams outside of our contingent, I think, in this tournament, and they'll be there at the death. Mm-hmm. They will have been glad they got the bonus points. I'm expecting them to beat the Lions, and I think in a high-scoring game. Yeah.
Well, that's the pace that the Lions like to play at, isn't it?
Yeah, helter-skelter rugby, yeah. I mean, I was... At one stage, I thought Cardiff were going to come back. It was 21-6, then 24-20, and I was like, oh my God, here it comes. But then they kind of managed to score a couple of tries. But yeah, I looked at their Curry Cup side again. I looked at their URC side, and you just think, they just don't have the coaching staff at the moment, and they certainly don't have the players. I've got Munster to win that game, and I think. Well,
let's start with the Blue Bulls. Let's look. The Blue Bulls are favoured by 13.5 by Betways, which means that if you think that the Bulls are going to win, they've got to win by 14 or more for you to collect your points. And if you've been on the Scarlets, they can't lose by 14 or more. So 13 and less, and you win your bet.
Easy bet.
So Blue Bulls up against Scarlets. Who are you picking there?
I'm definitely going the Bulls there to cover the spread quite easily. I think they're just going to flip the squad that they picked earlier in the week for the Curry Cup. And I sincerely hope they learned some lessons from that Sharks match last night. But I think they'll wipe the floor with Scarlets, to be honest.
Yeah, Scarlets, they're also, again, they've had a few more injuries as well. A couple of blokes going home. I think the best 30 minutes we're going to see from them was that first 30 against the Sharks. And it's kind of also...
They were lucky in some ways, Mark, in like you talked about earlier, the humidity makes for a very mucky game, even though the field's clean. The handling, as you know, in that humidity is not easy. So it sort of plays into a tighter score. And the Sharks still beat them convincingly in the end.
Yeah, I mean, in the Sharks, the last 10 minutes, there's only one team in it and looking dominant. But, they had a try disallowed. They had one where they coughed the ball up. So, I still think it would have been tighter, but the Sharks would have won that game. And they've been based themselves in Durban the whole time they're coming up. They may get a little bit of a fright in terms of that last 15-20 minutes with altitude on a Friday night in Pretoria. Interesting what Jake and Gert Small have done is their Currie Cup and URC teams are coexisting as squads.
Yeah.
And they've put a premium on the Currie Cup. They feel they can win it for a third successive time, but they need those URC players. And I think there's a realism that they want to try and make a semi-final for URC, but given the start they had, they would struggle to go to a Dublin or to a Thormond Park and actually beat one of those teams.
They struggled to go to Benetton last year.
Exactly. So I spoke to him earlier in the week and asked him, will you have the legs in your players for Friday night? And he reckoned that their training sessions would be tougher Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday than playing 2 games like that if you balancing a squad of 23. And I think Jake's always had that mentality. You tell a player you can do it, he can. You tell him you can't do it, he won't do it. Mm. So I think there were 10 changes made for the Currie Cup game, and I think there'll be 10 changes made for this one, and they'll just swing them around and get 40 minutes out of each. But I think they'll be comfortable winners, 20 points plus.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely one of my bets of the weekend is for the Bulls minus 13.5 for R1,000 to beat the Scarlets. Sorry, I think that they'll do it convincingly, and they won't make the same mistakes as they made last week. Certainly, don't put Bismarck on the field; it's an automatic red card. So if they manage to avoid that, they should win this game convincingly. So I'm going to bet on the Bulls minus 13.5, which means that they have to win by 14 or more to collect your bet on Betway.
All right.
Next up, we have the Lions versus.
That was very impressive, by the way you kind of summarized it there. Fantastic.
Thanks, guys. Right.
Teleprompter wasn't even working. How did you do that?
The next one, we've got a competition this week. This weekend, we've got 2 of them. Lions versus Munster. Anybody that can predict the correct score of this match, we're going to give them an official Boston Red Sox baseball cap. What's it got to do with rugby? Absolutely. So don't ask that question. It's just a competition. It's a free prize. Because I've had some Muppets in the past go, what's this got to do with rugby? As you can obviously, it's got nothing to do with rugby. It's just me giving something away free, with Betway. So guys, don't ask stupid questions. If you want to fill in the competition, fill it in and try and collect the hat. It's worth about R500. So what has R500 got to do with URC? It's just a giveaway. Lions, Munster. Look, Munster last week against the Bulls. De Lende, like we talked about earlier on, he makes such an impact. Great footballer. Absolutely fantastic footballer. The Lions will want to play this game at pace. They'll want to run from everywhere, and that might be a problem against a well-disciplined and well-coached Munster side from my side. I see this game playing out. I'm not betting on it. Actually, I am. I can't not bet. I like Munster to win this game outright at 2.08. I just think that the Lions will play themselves into trouble in this match, and the more disciplined side will win this game. So for me, Munster, R1,000 to win this match, 2.08. What do you guys think?
So Munster's a team that controls the clock and they control the territory. They win penalties, they put it out downfield, and then they just absolutely absorb you on D. So they drive the maul, they run direct routes, it's all forwards-based stuff. The Lions won't be able to run helter-skelter on defense because they'll be too busy getting condensed at the tackle point. So I think the Munster will just wear them down. And
I think the last 20 minutes could be a problem for the Lions, not Munster.
Yeah, I think that's the way.
And if I look at that Loftus game, we spoke about it earlier in the week, you got the sense that the Munster side were playing within themselves for 40 to ensure they had something left in the last
game. Absolutely.
Because at 29-3, you always got the sense they didn't feel they were out the game.
Yeah.
And they've got a decent pack. I mean, Donahue is a very good player as well. I really like the way he plays. And I agree with you fully there, Kev. I think the Lions are playing like desperados. It's the only thing that's going to save the Lions.
They're like a Fijian 7 side.
Yeah, just not as skilled. It's a red card in the second minute may just give the edge to the Lions. But other than that, I've got Munster to win, and I think do it with a little bit of change to spare as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement there. The next up we have the Stormers, who have been revitalized since Rihanna Warholsen has taken over administration of that club. I know you might think differently, Mark, maybe not, but I just think that under him, Dobbo has been allowed to coach.
Yeah, no, I mean, we kind of highlighted that a couple of weeks ago by saying there seems to be stability there. Rihanna's kind of done a hell of a lot behind the scenes in the last 6 months and allowed Dobbo to get on with the job of actually applying his mind to the Stormers. And what I do like about Dobbo's selections in the last couple of weeks, they've been very consistent. There's nice continuity. When I watched that province match against the Cheetahs, there's a lot of talent in this province. And there's a lot of players in that province squad that won't look out of place in the URC. And that's kudos to the systems that are in place here. And a lot of local grown talent as well that's coming through. But I'm pleased to see Damien Villeneuve getting another start at 12. I do think at the moment that is where you're going to get the best out of him. He's involved in the game. He doesn't have to have the decision making of a 10. Mani Lebok has come in and he's played well. I still don't know if he's the long-term answer there. Warwick Galan's fit again. But what I do like is that their pack's operating as a unit, and having Stephen Kitsoff back again is massive as well. I think he's in the top 2-3 of loose heads in the world, potentially the best loose head in the world. So yeah, I think they will win well against Cardiff, given that Cardiff.
The Betboy have got them Stormers minus 15.5 and 1.84. Cardiff plus 15.5 at 1.86.
I think that's fair, given Cardiff lost 4 more players after the Lions' defeat, and they haven't replaced them, even though there's a lot of good Cardiff players who are in the Welsh squad and aren't playing this weekend. So there was a temptation to fly them back over, and then Diane said no. So I think they'll take a beating.
Yeah, I like the Stormers at minus 15.5 to win this game at 1.84 on Betway. The Stormers are a much better team than the Lions. And they should be able to see them off by 20 plus points. So I'm going to put another 1,000 rand down at 1.84 on the Stormers minus 15.5, which means they need to win by 16 or more for us to collect our bet. But that's the bet for me.
Yeah, I think what they've got going in their favour as well is that they're playing at Cape Town Stadium, which is a soccer pitch, and it takes a bit of time getting used to the speed of that pitch and the depth of that pitch. And I think the Stormers know what they're in for.
Yeah, they've played there.
They're going to spend the first 20 minutes finding out which boots to wear.
Yeah.
So I think that'll help the Stormers as well.
I also think, Zell, that the Stormers front up. So the Stormers can play an expansive game, and they can also play with the forwards. They can muck it up with the forwards. They've got the physicality.
Yeah.
So there's not really any.
And they want to put in a good performance after David Mayhazen retired this week with concussion symptoms. On the advice of specialists, I'm sure they'll want to put in a good one for him. So I expect the Stormers to win quite comfortably against Cardiff.
I would like to have seen them play out at Stellenbosch again. I mean, with us still with this madness of only having 2,000 people at a ground, there was still a bit of an atmosphere there. And a smaller ground and one of the most picturesque grounds in the world. But you're going to get 2,000 people stuck into a 50,000.
But don't you think that the government's missing a big opportunity here to bring back a bit of normality to life and the love that South Africans have for their sports, not just only rugby, but soccer and everything else.
Look,
you look at the trains that commute every day. You've got hundreds and thousands of commuters that are coming into contact with each other, not wearing masks, and then you can't increase the capacity on the stadiums. There's no science behind it. Come on, guys.
No, look, everyone knows that the rolling the state of disaster over for another month is to keep control. Roll it over then if you're going to do that, but open up the stadiums to 75% capacity, and let us have. I mean, these regions are hemorrhaging cash. They are dying. I mean, Craig Ray wrote a lovely, very insightful piece about the losses that they've accrued. I mean, the South African Rugby Union were down by 500 million because of COVID in their last fiscal year. So it's, the PSL are saying they're not opening up their grounds for 2,000 people. It costs them more money to do that. Rugby is just saying, let's get some people back. But cricket as well, I saw this week, just a sprinkling of people. It's just absurd in the current climate that we can't have crowds at games. And I just keep on asking these questions to everyone who's running these organizations is, why isn't there not a collective standing up against it? and saying we're not going to take it anymore.
Why indeed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like you said, there's no science behind it. It's absolute madness. But rather than be antagonistic, I just make a plea to the government to please
Give us back our stadiums.
give us back our stadiums, give us back some sort of normality in life so that we can enjoy sports on the weekend, have something to look forward to, other than all the news about the wars and COVID and everything else that we've been dealing with, or going into our third year now. It's absurd. But maybe better cooler heads will prevail there, or more intelligent heads. I don't know. But for me, Stormers to lay a beating on Cardiff, I think they're going to do it well. 20, 23, 25 points plus for me. That brings us to the Six Nations.
Well, we haven't covered Sharks Zebre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have to? Sharks by 40 points plus.
40.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to they should, but I'm not sure with this humid weather. I wouldn't be putting a bet on this game because you're going to look at you're going to be looking at 35 to 42 points handicap either way. And I just don't, when it gets to 40 with the Sharks and that humidity, I just can't really, in all good conscience, advise anybody to make that bet. I certainly won't be
We're
making
likely
it.
to have some prop bets on the URC because I've got a feeling old Pepsi Buthelezi is going to come to the bench and score a hat trick.
Well, maybe prop bets will be part of the future in these developing companies like Betway that offer more and more.